Well, we made it through the top 10 of the Gold Sheet 2024 Power Rated Teams. Make sure to check out all the videos below as we go through the top 25. You'll be glad you did. And as always, we appreciate every thumbs up you give us, every comment you make, whether you like something, dislike something, agree with the assessment, think I'm totally off, please do share those comments. We appreciate it. We start off each video with the odds. This is getting filmed July 12th, so as the odds progress in the summer, you know exactly what the expectations were. National championship odd for the Missouri Tigers, 30-1. Conference championship odds, 14-1. To make the playoffs, yes, plus 175, no, minus 225. Season win total sits at 9.5, plus 135 to the over, minus 160 to the under. To go undefeated, plus 850 for yes, no, minus 1800. Brady Cook for the Heisman, 35-1. And Missouri with the dynamic Luther Burden. He is the top non-QB Heisman odds-wise. He is sitting at 80-1. That is a typo on the screen, guys. I sent in the wrong number. He is actually 80-1 on those odds to win the Heisman for Luther Burden. We always want to look back at last year to see if the record matches what the expectations were. Stat-wise, they were number 26 in yards per play diff, plus 1.18 yards per play. Yards per game offense and defense, number 28 and number 34. Points per game on both sides of the ball, number 29 and number 25. They did play the number 13 toughest schedule last year. And when you break out the efficiency ranks, putting in the strength of schedule, they were top 20 in both. 19 on offense, 13 on defense. They went 11-2 straight up, 9-4 against the spread, 8-5 over under. Now, if you watch those previous videos in the top 10, I often talk about close wins and close losses. Well, Missouri is the poster child for close wins. They had 4 games decided by a touchdown or less. They won all 4 of those. Teams in that mode have only improved 16% of the time over the last several decades. So you normally return back to where you're winning about 50% of those. Again, Missouri was +4 in those wins. They started off the season as a big home favorite against South Dakota and Middle Tennessee, 27 and 21 points. They failed to cover both and only beat Middle Tennessee by 4 points. Next, against Kansas State, well, they have a kicker, Harrison Mevis, hit a 61-yarder on the final play of the game to beat Kansas State. Looking at the Memphis game, they had a 14-point lead. Memphis scored with about a minute to go, so that game wasn't as close as the final indicated. And boy, they needed Memphis again against Florida. That Florida game had 9 lead changes and a 30-yard field goal for the Missouri Tigers with 5 seconds left to win that game. So again, you look at a Missouri team, they were very fortunate they had the kicker they did. It gave them 2 wins on the season. Quite a difference, being 11-2 versus 2 more losses and being 9-4 on the year. Gold Sheet, the finest football newsletter in the country. Save $30 right now with the code GS30. You can sign up at Wager Talk. You can sign up at goldsheet.com. You'll get a weekly football newsletter from college football week 0 through the Super Bowl. And boy, have we expanded the Gold Sheet over the last few years. Make sure you check it out. It's a product you're going to want each and every week for the football season. The 2024 Missouri Tigers, let's start with the conference cheat sheet. 14 returning starters, and they are number 14 in our power ratings. They returned 8 on offense, 6 on defense. Take a look. In the SEC, they only trail Kentucky as far as returning the most production. They are number 17 in Connolly's rankings. They, of course, return their quarterback. They do have a new DC. If you watched video number 10, you know where he went. And recruiting-wise, 21 in the country, 12 in the SEC. So again, even though they've had success last year, it's still tough to break into that top 10 in SEC recruiting ranks. Of those 14 returning starters, is that similar or different than what they've had the past few years? Well, the three previous seasons, they returned 15, 13, and 14, so perfectly, right in the scheme of returning about 14 starters each year. What is a negative is they lost 6 players to the draft and 22 points in my post-draft point guide. The previous 2 years, they only lost 3 players and 7 points. So again, they are replacing 6 NFL players, which is another reason to drop them down just a touch here. We have Brady Cook at quarterback, 3,300 yards, 67% completions, a 21-5 ratio, and 8 rushing TDs. Now, Schrader, the running back, is going to be a big loss. He'll be tough to replace. And also, without having that bell cow running back, I'm not quite sure Brady Cook is going to get 8 rushing touchdowns. They did a lot of play action down in the end zone. If they don't find that number 1 running back, it may hurt their red zone offense a bit. We'll see what happens there. The receiving core, the best in the SEC, maybe the best in the country. Their top 6 receivers return. Burden, again, an absolute stud. He picked Missouri over Ohio State. Buckeyes fans are upset. But again, 1,212 yards, 14.1 yards per catch, and 9 TDs. The O-line does lose 2 starters, including a number 4 draft pick in the NFL. Their D-line, they lose a number 1 draft choice plus 4 more players that made 17 starts. Their D-line is going to take a hurt. The starters may be okay, but they're not going to have much depth to start the season. Their linebackers lose a number 3 draft choice and a part-time starter. And their secondary, this could be as big of a down for any unit in the SEC. They lose 3 NFL draft choices, a number 2 draft choice and 2 number 5s. And as I said, they lost their DC in an integral part of this team. They went to South Alabama, brought over their DC. We'll see what he can do, missing some key parts on the offensive side of the ball. Unit-wise, as I said, Missouri, the best receiving unit in the SEC, maybe in the country. Their next best units, probably the quarterback and their linebackers. So again, no standout units. The DBs, again, they'll have to do something special in the secondary. Let's move to the schedule for the 2024 Missouri Tigers. This year, a weak schedule. Number 65. That is shocking when you think about an SEC team playing the number 65 schedule. Why? Well, let's see. You're going to be a non-conference, a 52-point favorite, a 38-point favorite, a 23-point favorite, and a 34-point favorite. And more importantly, if you look at the top 5 teams in the SEC, they do not play number 1 Georgia, number 2 Texas, Ole Miss, or LSU. They do not have 4 of the top 5 SEC teams on their schedule. As far as bye weeks are concerned, they have a bye for Alabama, a great spot. Alabama is on their 6th straight game. They're coming off their neutral game against Arkansas in Jerryville, and they already have played Notre Dame and Florida as well. Circle that spot for the Missouri Tigers as an excellent spot. They do have a bye before Oklahoma. The Sooners are playing a 5th straight game, and while they all are off UMass, they also previously played just Texas, South Carolina, and Ole Miss. So they may be very well banged up for that game. One negative spot, they go to A&M, they go to Massachusetts, they host Auburn, and they have Alabama on deck. Auburn is off a bye in that game. And at South Carolina, then they go to Mississippi State, play back-to-back road games. on November 16th and 23rd. Mississippi State is in a bye in that situation. So a couple positives for Missouri, a couple negatives for Missouri, and as you would note, the gray areas are those games that are within a touchdown. They're favored in 2 of them, and the only game they're projected to be a dog of a touchdown or less is A&M, and we project them to be 11-point underdog against Alabama. Bettor's Edge. My way of breaking down the data we talked about, giving you a point to pay attention to. You know, Drinkwitz has been the coach here since 2020. He started 5-13 his first 18 games. That is 28% against the spread. He wanted to do it with recruits, not bring in a lot of transfers, build from within. Well, since that time, he's gone 20-11 against the spread. And FYI, he's gone 13-18 over-under. That is 58% to the under. The Tigers are a poor double-digit favorite. They had a solid defense, but their offense has not had a playmaker besides Burden. And losing their running back this year, I think they'll be a touch stagnant as well. They're 4-9 against the spread as a double-digit favorite. That is 31%. But as a dog, let's see, how many times do you hear when you have a solid defensive dog, it's a great play? Well, that epitomizes Missouri the last few years. They're 14-5 as a dog, 74% against the spread. And when they're a dog with a total of 56 or less, they are 13-3, 81%. Best bet to circle, folks. This line isn't available, so it's not a true best bet till we see how it plays out. But I have that Boston College game circled on the 14th. Why? Well, again, we talked about Drinkwitz not running up the score, being a poor double-digit favorite. When I look at Boston College, they are now coached by Bill O'Brien. He brought in many NFL assistant coaches. That either goes very well or that goes poorly, depending on the discipline your team has. And I perceive Boston College as a pretty disciplined team. BC returned 17 starters, and they play Florida on the road Labor Day weekend, I believe on Labor Day. So they already have a road game under their belt. So they're not going to be in awe going to Missouri after having played at Doak Campbell. Missouri has Vanderbilt on deck, and while they're going to be a big favorite, it still is your conference opener on deck. Now, we project the line to be 23. So when the lines come out for that week, or if they start posting them later this summer, remember, I am making this saying I'm going to get Boston College at 24 or higher. If the line comes in shorter than that, it's not going to be a play. If the line comes in at BC plus 24 or more, I think Boston College is a game to be circled. Again, guys, GS30 is your code to save $30 at Gold Sheet, either at goldsheet.com or at wagertalk.com. We are only at Team 11. We are going to be going through our top 25. Check out each and every team that we previewed here below, and keep watching Wager Talk TV.